Unable to go any farther, Burnside's bedraggled men forlornly returned to their winter camps near Fredericksburg without so much as firing a shot. Meanwhile, on the other side of the river, Lee's men looked on with glee, posting large signs that read, "This way to Richmond," complete with arrows pointing in the opposite direction from the capital city, and Burnside stuck in the mud. In the aftermath of the fiasco, Burnside blamed insubordinate Union officers for his woes and threatened to resign unless Lincoln dismissed the alleged offenders. The officers and their supporters, some of whom coveted Burnside's command, pointed the finger at the general. Eventually, Lincoln, never enamored with Burnside's effort in the first place, convinced the general to accept another assignment and entrusted the Army of the Potomac to Joseph Hooker, one of Burnside's critics. Perhaps better than any other incident, Burnside's ill-advised mud march demonstrates the indecision, lack of leadership, and internal rancor that plagued the Union High Command in late 1862 and early 1863. For those who write the military history of the Civil War, the Mud March is one place, and sometimes the only place, where the natural world, in the form of rain and bottomless Virginia mud, becomes important to the narrative. Tellingly, it is the only campaign named for a weather-induced feature, rather than a geographic one. The horrendous weather that overtook Burnside has prompted a few scholars to look into the atmospheric conditions that brought on the storm and the soils that so quickly became a quagmire. But most military historians come back to Burnside, citing his overly ambitious plan, his failure to understand the folly of moving troops in winter, and the one-day delay that kept him from crossing the river. Unlike Theodore Dodge and other soldiers who lived through those difficult days in 1863, military historians have been much quicker to note the foibles of General Burnside than to acknowledge the tyranny of King Mud. Over the last 2 decades, environmental historians, a group of scholars generally more attuned to the role of nature and human endeavors, have called for a different approach. As Jack Temple Kirby explains it, people are connected creatures, obligated partners in a dynamic natural community. Within that community, the natural world always affects any human activity. In turn, human actions, in war or any other enterprise, alter nature. When it comes to the Civil War, some environmental historians have viewed the conflict as a struggle for resources. Others have called attention to the health of soldiers, civilians, slaves, and freed people. A few have focused on the wanton destruction of the natural and built environments and the ways Americans reacted to the unprecedented devastation. The impact of the war on agriculture, especially in the South as it reorganized after emancipation, has also drawn scrutiny. Lisa M. Brady, one of the first environmental historians to examine the Civil War, has investigated the ways military strategy reflected prevailing ideas about nature and how those ideas influenced individual campaigns. Even so, we still lack a work that considers the 4 years of war, the musters, training, troop movements, battles, home front, and aftermath, in an environmental context. This book, a collaborative effort between a military and an environmental historian, is an attempt to write such a history. Simply stated, we have tried to reimagine the war, not just as a military action, but also as a biotic or biological event, one crucial to the history of the American environment. Decades ago, Alfred W. Crosby, a pioneer in environmental history, reminded us that human beings are never really alone in the natural world. They live side by side with what Crosby, in a marvelous turn of phrase, called the portmanteau biota, the conglomeration of microbes, crops, weeds, and domestic animals that reside in their bodies and on their farms and fields. When Europeans settled on other continents, Crosby argued, they and their associated organisms were not only colonizers, but also agents of biological upheaval that transformed both people and nature. This mass relocation of people, plants, and animals took place in a natural world that was not static, but one in which climate, weather, winds, and a host of other factors helped determine the pace and extent of change. Similarly, we treat the war as an ecological event that not only affected people, but also altered natural systems and reshaped the already complex interaction between humans, other organisms, and the physical environment. Such a history requires merging traditional military sources with material from relevant sciences, scholarly territory often unfamiliar to historians.